10 o'clock, it's 42 degrees. Today, increasing clouds, mild and breezy with a chance of light rain this afternoon, a high of 51. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Tiff Pua. Minneapolis is on edge following the fatal shooting of a woman by an ICE officer yesterday. The FBI is investigating the incident that killed a 37-year-old woman after differing accounts of what happened continue from government officials and Minnesota leaders. CBS's Matt Gutman.
They deployed chemical agents, eventually some tear gas. They detained a couple of people. It got extremely heated at one point. And one of the things that became so apparent from being out here all morning is how angry people are here.
Protests and vigils were held in Milwaukee last night, with Voces de la Frontera saying more protests are planned for La Crosse and Madison in the coming days. Overall crime was down in 2025 across Milwaukee. Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman.
Less people are getting their cars stolen. Less people are being carjacked. Less people are being robbed. Less people are getting injured. As a community, we need to acknowledge that we are doing all the work to help make these differences.
Chief Norman acknowledged that homicides were up last year, with guns being used in almost 90% of incidents in 2025. A Milwaukee Public School varsity basketball coach is suspended after allegations of slapping a student. It happened at Milwaukee School of Languages during practice before the holiday break. The school says an investigation is underway and an assistant coach was appointed to lead the varsity team. In Madison, lawmakers are being urged to pass legislation to improve conditions in all jails and prisons across the state.
One bill would cap costs on most personal hygiene products for inmates, while another measure would require the Department of Corrections to provide free menstrual products. Supporters like the Wisconsin Justice Initiative say while the DOC currently offers some of these products, access is not guaranteed, leading to health concerns. Similar legislation has failed to pass, but both of these measures are receiving bipartisan support. The bills still need approval in both the Assembly and Senate. Neil Doyle, WTMJ News.
1 year ago, Burlington native Caitlin Morrell and her family evacuated their Pacific Palisades home as wildfires raged through California. 1 year later, Morrell's family remains displaced.
The home remains standing, but unsuitable for living. For Morrell, the feeling of home is fading.
I feel detached from it.
Morrell hasn't slept in her own bed in a year, living in multiple Airbnbs and battling through 5 different insurance adjusters.
It's a strange feeling when you live in someone else's house with all their things.
She hopes to be back in her home in April.
Knowing that we don't have a point of contact assigned to us right now, it's making me a little skeptical.
Greg Matzik, WTMJ News.
Time for news about your money. Here's your WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. A mixed bag on the boards this morning. Your Dow is up 242 points to 49,240. The S&P 500 is up 3 points to 6,924. But the NASDAQ is down 126 points to 23,458. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited WTMJ News Time is 10:03.
We know for small business advertisers, every dollar counts. And that's why you hear our advertisers over and over on this station as well as every other Milwaukee radio station. Because the power of repetition is real. Go to the Our Clients page of Anderson-Smith.com and see just how many you're familiar with. And check out their real advertising success stories. You'll learn why our clients stay with us for years and years. Anderson-Smith.com. We help small business advertisers get better results. We know you work hard to make your small business the best it can be. And we understand you deserve to have your advertising work as hard as you do. That's why we focus on only the most efficient ways to assure your ad message makes the most impact it possibly can. With millions of dollars in annual billing and dozens of satisfied clients, Anderson Smith has the leverage and know-how to amplify your advertising. Go to Anderson-Smith.com, email me, and I'll call you in short order because it's time we grow your business.
Is it time to buy an engagement ring?
Or a big anniversary diamond?
Kessler's has diamonds that come from diamond mines.
And we also have diamonds that come from plasma chambers.
When you see the size of the diamond you can afford when you look at our high-tech newborn created diamonds,
you're going to be happy, happy, happy.
And with approved credit, our financing plans make anything possible.
Our selection of engagement rings is beyond compare.
And our custom design department can modify any ring in any way you choose.
Anyone who says they can give you a better ring,
or a better diamond,
or a better price,
has never been to Kessler's.
And our miraculous no small print warranty says,
If you bought it at Kessler's, it's guaranteed.
It's just that simple.
And all maintenance is free forever.
No charge.
yes, it really is that miraculous.
You found a partner you want to share your life with.
When you're ready to celebrate.
We've got a diamond for that.
Find the Kesslers nearest you at KesslersDiamonds.com.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call, That's All Sports Desk. The Milwaukee Bucks fall to the Golden State Warriors 120-113.
I just thought they made all the tough plays tonight, all the loose balls, all the big rebounds, played through contact, and I didn't think we did that tonight.
The Bucks continue their West Coast road trip tomorrow night against the Lakers. In men's college hoops, Marquette snaps a 6-game losing streak as they beat Xavier 66-65. The Wisconsin women's basketball team takes the floor tonight against Purdue. That's a 6:30 tip at the Kohl Center. Badger Sports updates are sponsored by Siding Unlimited, Siding, and a whole lot more. Taking a look at your roads with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. A couple of disabled vehicles on the system. Most of them are out of the way, except for this one. We've got it on the ramp from County G to 94 East in Waukesha County, right by the Springs Water Park. Now, it's a semi, so it's mostly out of the way on the ramp, but it looks like you can squeeze by. Just go slowly through that area. Stay safe out there, everyone. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Today, increasing clouds, mild and breezy with rain in the afternoon, likely a high of 51. Tonight, those scattered showers will continue with an isolated chance of a thunderstorm, cloudy and breezy, a low of 37. That chance of rain continues into Friday with a possible snow mix there, then becoming partly cloudy, a high of 43. On Saturday, that snow mix is likely with about 1 to 3 inches of snow predicted, mainly northwest of Milwaukee, with a high of 36. Sunday, a slight chance of a morning flurry, then becoming sunny, a high of 30. And on Monday, partly cloudy with a high of 36. Right now in Madison, it's 42. In Waukesha, it's 45. In Green Bay, it's 40. And in Milwaukee, it's cloudy and 42 degrees. I'm Tiff Pua. Outdoor Living Unlimited WTMJ News Time is 10:07.
Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue. It's time for Point Taken. Here are your hosts, Steve Scaffidi and Kristin Brey.
And good morning, everybody. Thursday show. Week is going fast as we react to what happened in Minnesota yesterday. A 37-year-old Minnesota resident, Renee Nicole Good, shot and killed by an ICE agent on the streets of Minneapolis. One of the great opportunities we have on the show is to bring forward legal experts and attorneys, and Rick Essenberg is in that class of guests. He joins us on the phone. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
Let's start with some of the legal questions swirling around this. I saw some of your posts last night on Twitter, and I thought that you've raised some interesting questions. So let's sort of discuss what the legal implications of ICE being on the ground in Minneapolis are, this interaction with this citizen who was not, as far as I know, under investigation for any immigration issues, was just protesting. I assume that's the common understanding now. What issues do you think are going to come up with this case? First and foremost, we have a dead citizen of the United States.
Well, I think that there are going to be, just to put a pin in it, there are going to be some issues about who has jurisdiction to hear this. But the biggest issue in any potential prosecution against the ICE agent who did the shooting is going to be whether or not this was a reasonable use of force. And that, I think, is going to turn on whether this agent had a reasonable belief that using deadly force was necessary to avert imminent death or great bodily injury.
Just on that observation point of watching that video.
That was my question.
Do you think that there was a legitimate use of force here?
Well, I have to tell you that my impression last night from watching this on Twitter, it reminded me of that old movie Rashomon, where you would have different people who witnessed the same crime and then described it very differently. Here it's even worse though, because what you had was people who would post the exact same video and not only come to radically different conclusions about what had happened, but describe what happened on the video in radically different ways. And I would say about 95% of the time, whether these people were supporting, the agent or not, their descriptions were objectively inaccurate. And so I think that this was my impression, and my impression could be wrong. When I first saw the video in slow motion, I thought that this was not a good shoot. I don't think that the agent was actually in danger. I think that the driver did an incredibly stupid thing to sort of pull out in a huff when she was confronted by armed law enforcement agents, but they weren't in danger. However, you get a different impression when you watch it at live speed, because this thing happens very, very fast in very, very close quarters, and it becomes less clear when you see it that way. And that's the way that you have to evaluate it, because that's the way it happened in real life. So where I came down, I think, tentatively, in the absence of additional information, is that everybody did precisely the wrong thing for this tragedy to happen. And that if this were to go to trial, what the agent has to do, if I understand Minnesota law correctly, is has to meet what's called by lawyers a burden of production, has to come up with some evidence that he had this reasonable apprehension of imminent death or bodily harm. And once that happens, then the self-defense argument is on the table. The prosecutor still has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the agent did not have such a reasonable fear. And I think under those circumstances, that very stringent burden of proof for getting a criminal conviction, at least with a jury that wasn't, sort of blinded by ideological bias, that you probably can't get to beyond a reasonable doubt. But maybe you can. It's a close call.
Rick, how much? Because I think the video's everywhere, in different angles of the video is everywhere. What I have not seen yet is anything prior to that split second of her starting to pull out. You see a different car pull out ahead of her, and then you kind of hear mixed messages from two of the officers of like, get out of here, and then someone's trying to open her door. How much of the information that we don't have yet, that only an actual investigation will provide, as far as why she was there in the first place, what the mission was that those agents were trying to conduct at the time, how much of that will impact any legal case, and how much is it just filling in the details?
So I was talking to my wife about this last night, and I said, if this case ever goes to trial, and there are reasons to think it might never, but if this case goes to trial, the trial is not going to be, okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to play the video for now, and then you're going to go and deliberate and decide what you think based on that video. There will be a lot more information. There will be information about what words were exchanged. There will be expert witnesses who come in and who are experts in, reconstructing crime scenes because the other thing you have to keep in mind makes this even more complicated is everybody's moving at the same time. The thing that when I initially saw this video that really made me think that this was a bad shoot is that I thought that the ICE agent was to the left of the automobile. And although the automobile came close to him, in fact, sometimes when I watch the video, I think she may have ran over his foot, but I'm not sure. But somebody will know that. That's additional information that we will get. And so because he was not directly in the path of the car, I can see a law enforcement agent being very, very angry, but not really having justification to shoot. But the thing that you have to keep in mind is that he was moving, she was moving, and it all happened very fast, and that's what makes this difficult. So you're going to get a lot of testimony. He might testify, although, defense attorneys never like to put their clients in the witness stand, but here it might be necessary. And so I do think that there's more information, to come in addition to this video, and that'll be very, very important. And this is one of the reasons, and I think this every time something like this happens, is people should dial down their rhetoric. The president should dial down his rhetoric. Kristi Noem should dial down his rhetoric, and so should Governor Walz and Mayor Frey.
I think we're all in agreement on that, Rick.
Let the process work itself out.
Let's take a quick break. I want to continue the conversation. There's some big picture questions I want to ask you about the idea of ICE and their interactions with protesters, because it sort of escalates these situations, especially with the number of agents I see on the ground in Minneapolis. I'm watching a monitor on CNN right now, and I see quite a few agents, as well as the leader of that group in Minneapolis as we speak. Rick Essenberg, president of Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. Lots more to talk about on the first hour of Point Taken right here on 620 WTMJ.
Who doesn't need a seasonal wardrobe update? But who has the cash to always keep their wardrobe updated? Ladies, that's why you shop St. Vincent de Paul. Our women's clothing is always a highlight of our stores, and thrift store prices keep the costs low. It allows you to experiment and also find a hidden gem. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
No matter how many people are in your family, buying new jackets for the cold weather months can be expensive. But when you shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, prices on cold weather jackets will give you a sigh of relief, because thrift store prices mean great deals. And right now we have a great selection. Find great deals on cold weather jackets for the family at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Winter would be pretty bleak without my friends at Fleet Farm. They're my one-stop shop for everything ice fishing. My boots, bibs, augers, scoopers, rods, reels. I mean, Fleet Farm's got all the best ice fishing gear. Hook, line, and sinker. And duct tape, too, if you need it. You'll always need it. Take it from me, John Gillespie. Fleet Farm's got everything you need to gear up for a great year on the ice.
The green and gold runs deep, and we've got your football fix. From Lambeau to the living room, Wisconsin's Midday News brings you the experts on and off the field to break down every showdown from Titletown.
All these guys have a journey, and all these guys have a story, and it's fun to follow those journeys and learn more about how they got to where they are.
So grab your cheesehead and lock into Football Fix, powered by Flanner's Home Entertainment, every Wednesday at 12:15, only on Wisconsin's Midday News.
Continuing our conversation with Rick Essenberg, President of the United States. President of the United States. You don't want that job, do you, Rick? He's President of Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, joining us on the phone. I don't want that job either. Let's talk about sort of the big picture stuff here. I said a couple months ago, whenever you introduce large numbers of agents, federal agents, ICE agents, into communities, and it's the reaction, of course, is you're going to see protests. The likelihood of these kinds of incidents are going to increase exponentially. And when you have that reality in these cities across this country, it does sort of raise the question. I know that President Donald Trump won the election based on his desire to remove some people from our population that he said didn't belong here. And other people have said that as well. But when you have this sort of reality that we're now all looking at on our screens, on our phones, on our TVs, it sort of reduces the likelihood that people are going to say, yeah, that's what I signed up for. On the big picture side of things, where do you fall, Rick?
Well, so the one thing I just want to be sure to say is that the guilt and innocence of any individual does not turn on how we feel about ICE or how we feel about ICE protesters. I mean, a woman was killed. An individual, may be on, trial essentially for his life. And not that they have the death penalty in Minnesota, but you get the picture. I think that question should be resolved based upon what happened and not how we feel about these larger issues. Having said that, I mean, obviously the larger issues are important. And, the problem here is that we've got a lot of politicians behaving badly on both sides. I certainly agree that the lack of enforcement of immigration laws, particularly during the Biden administration, was a problem. It has resulted in a situation that historically has always caused problems in the United States of America. I mean, there are historians which will argue, and they've got numbers to back it up, that anytime you get to about 15% foreign born in the United States, you have a backlash because assimilation then becomes more difficult. Trump ran on controlling, immigration. He ought to do that. It doesn't offend me that ICE is attempting to enforce immigration laws, but it was always predictable that given the number, given whatever the number is, 10 to 15 million people, you were not going to ever be able to have mass deportations in a way that would be acceptable to the public. You can't even find, who these, 10 to 15 million people are. And so there was always a great likelihood that if you tried to be overly aggressive in correcting a situation, which, I think did need to be corrected, that you were going to do it in a way that lots of Americans wouldn't like. There was going to be pressure on, whether or not basic due process safeguards are going to be applied. There was going to be pressure on, the rules and limitations on when, people can be stopped on the street. You were going to face, public opposition because there is, a body of opinion in the United States that really doesn't want the law to be enforced. And so it would have been far more intelligent to do what J.D. Vance said that they were going to do, and that is, start with people who were, more evidently a problem, people that had criminal backgrounds, things like that type of thing, and to try to do this in a way that perhaps emphasized a little bit more those laws that are designed to prohibit employers from employing people that are not authorized to work in the United States. That's what Mitt Romney wanted to do. Because the upshot of this is that, you have had these confrontations and they create dangerous situations that may not be worth the advantage that is to be derived from them. And even if you kind of want to engage in kind of the cold-hearted or partisan calculus that politicians do engage in, that, is this helping me or hurting me? Trump has gone from having a very strong favorable rating on, how he's handling immigration because, unlawful border crossings are down. But now he's underwater on immigration. And he's underwater on immigration because people are seeing things on the news that they don't like, that make them uncomfortable. And I think that it was a mistake to go down that path.
As far as, because we were talking about the immunity and federal agents' immunity and their legal protection, but, and I'm not above my own partisan lens when I'm trying to parse through all this, and I'll admit that. But it's like, when you put the facts together as far as the 50,000 bonuses for people signing up for ICE, the fact that ICE is not trained for crowd control, right? Like a lot of times in past administrations, these are people who work alone and don't necessarily have to be in urban centers. And so what accountability or burden is there on federal agencies to make sure these people are trained appropriately and also not reacting? I mean, we've seen but besides just this shooting, we've seen them shoot pepper ball people right in the face, and like their own frustration get the best of them. And so, like, can there be accountability for these people and their actions?
Well, I mean, that's another problem. I have never worked as a police officer. I'm not trained as a police officer. The one little thing I can hold up, other than kind of understanding what the law is that I went through a Citizens Police Academy in Milwaukee. And one of the things they do is they spend some time, putting you in shoot, no shoot drills. And, what are the rules that govern the use of deadly force? It is very, very difficult, particularly if you're in a situation like that. And so it's hard to add that many people who will then be given guns and put into very, very difficult situations and have them adequately trained to deal with those situations. And that's one of the reasons why, I think that the way to handle this was not to take the position that we have to, get everyone who is here in the country unlawfully out of the country as quickly as we possibly can. Because doing that was, although in and of itself, I don't think that that's wrong. But doing it in that way was going to have unintended consequences that we're going to sort of undermine the entire policy to begin with. And part of it is, I think you're right, the fact that, staffing up to do this was always going to be very, very difficult because I got to tell you, I have a great respect for law enforcement officers who have to make these decisions. And you just can't take anybody off the street, put them in that situation, and expect them to be able to do it well because it ain't easy.
That's a great point, Rick. We got to leave it there. Always appreciate your wisdom. Thanks for sharing it on our show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Rick Essenberg, quick break here. Point taken.
Close your eyes and picture Europe by water, sunlit ports, ancient cities, and effortless elegance. With Viking Cruises and Fox World Travel, the Mediterranean becomes your front porch. No crowds, no casinos, just culture, cuisine, and curated experiences designed for curious travelers. From Italy to Greece, every detail is handled, so all you do is savor the journey. Ready to sail Europe the refined way? Call 866-GO-FOX-GO or visit foxworldtravel.com to book today.
She's been putting off knee surgery for years, and she had a trip coming up to Ireland, and she knew she was going to be walking a lot more than she had become accustomed to. So she finally took a chance and called for an appointment. And it ended up helping her. She was able to do the walking and sightseeing pain-free. It led to an enjoyable trip, and I think we're going to be able to help her live a better life going forward. One that won't let pain stand in her way any longer. This is Rejuvenex founder Richard Salinas, and these are the kind of real-life stories I love to hear. Pain can take so much away from us, and when we can alleviate that kind of pain, it makes our purpose here at Rejuvenex that much more fulfilling. Don't let pain stand in your way any longer. Every day is precious. Take that next step. Schedule your appointment at Rejuvenex and start living your life again.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Take a look at our Google reviews to learn more.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here for Gruber Law Offices. With Gruber, it's about winning and winning big. Not for them, for you. Professional, hardworking, honest. They've got 130 professionals that'll make a difference for you in your life. They helped me when I was going through a very difficult time. It's Gruber all the way, proven record of strong results, and proven accomplisher in our community. They make a difference in the places where we live, work, and play. They'll make a difference for you and your family. I've seen it firsthand. It is Gruber Law Offices.
While you rest on the weekends, we work for you. Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News with Libby Collins. The latest in news.
The person who stood out most to me was Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I think his knowledge of international affairs really stood out, and he was pretty outspoken.
Entertainment.
How about restaurants? We're seeing a lot of new ones. What do you think is going to happen in that sector?
And more every Sunday morning starting at 8 on WTMJ.
Hey, don't forget the boat show's coming up 18th to the 21st, and 8 days of boating excellence at the Wisconsin Expo Center at State Fair Park. We're giving away tickets later in the show, so stay tuned for that. Always fun. You can register to win a HO Sports Beacon Kayak. We were talking about kayaking yesterday on the program, courtesy of Skipper Buds. Always fun. Giveaway coming out later in the hour, Wisconsin State Fair Park. Obviously, we're going to do a lot on this on tomorrow's show. I know you're off tomorrow,
I'll be off,
but Bill and Joe will join me. That'll probably be the first half hour because there's so many things we don't know yet, but there's some really obvious things. The role of ICE in our communities, maybe perhaps some overstepping. Rick alluded to that, how these people are trained as part of the story, because it doesn't seem like normal police procedures were followed
But
here.
it's also, what is the difference between what they are instructed to be doing and what local police or sheriffs? And so it's like, what is their defined role and what is overstepping what that role is? and if there is going to be any accountability for that, of them staying in their lane.
And as I often say, nuance is required in situations like this, and right now we just have highly partisan takes, which is unfortunate. We have local news coming up with Tiff Pua. Before we get to that, here's the latest now from ABC.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The judge in the trial of a former Uvalde, Texas schools police officer refusing to declare a mistrial, but he has just ruled that a key prosecution witness's testimony should be thrown out. Former third grade teacher Stephanie Hale changed what she said about the school shooting during discovery and when she took the stand. In Minneapolis, crowds clashing with federal officials following the deadly shooting of a woman by an ICE agent on Wednesday. Federal officials say she tried to use her car to ram the agent, but local officials dispute that. The longest-serving Democrat in the House of Representatives, Maryland's Steny Hoyer, announced today he will be leaving Congress at the end of this term. He was emotional saying it and ended his floor speech this way.
Mr. Speaker, with tremendous gratitude, I yield back.
The Dow is up 237 points. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited WTMJ News Time is 10:31. I'm Tiff Pua. No one was injured after a parking garage floor partially collapsed on Milwaukee's east side. It happened Wednesday night at the Empire apartment complex near Knapp and Astor. A resident was trying to park his car when part of the garage floor caved in. The car went down into the sinkhole, but the man was able to escape. The Department of Neighborhood Services is assessing the structural integrity of the building. A woman from Hartford is charged with hitting a 4-year-old with her car in West Bend. 28-year-old Monica Larson faces 1 felony for causing injury while driving under the influence and several drug-related misdemeanors. She allegedly ran over the toddler while looking for a parking spot at the Freighter West Bend Health Center on Monday. The child suffered liver damage but is expected to be okay. Larson is due back in court January 29th. And Wisconsin lawmakers are considering a bill that would provide PTSD coverage for part-time and volunteer firefighters. State Senator Andre Jacques says it would support emergency officials dealing with emotional trauma after responding to horrific accidents and medical emergencies. The bill unanimously passed committees in the Assembly and Senate. It now heads to both chambers for a vote. Time for news about your money. Here's your WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Still a mixed bag on the boards today. Your Dow is up 290 points to 49,286, but the S&P 500 is down 3 points to 6,917, and the Nasdaq is down 162 points to 23,421. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Taking a look at your roads with your WTMJ Time Saver Traffic. Well, the good news is most of the disabled vehicles that are on the system have been cleared out, so it is smooth sailing all the way through. No incidents or issues to report. Stay safe out there, everyone. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Today, increasing clouds, mild and breezy with an afternoon rain likely, a high of 51. Tonight, scattered showers and an isolated thunderstorm, then mostly cloudy and breezy, a low of 37. For your Friday, a slight chance of a rain-snow mix and becoming partly cloudy, a high of 43. For your Saturday, that rain-snow mix is likely with a possible 1 to 3 inches of snow accumulation mainly to the northwest of Milwaukee, a high of 36. For your Sunday, a slight chance of a morning snow shower and then becoming sunny, a high of 30. For your Monday, partly cloudy and a high of 36. Right now in Salem Lakes, it's 47. In Slinger, it's 45. And in Milwaukee, it's cloudy and 44 degrees. I'm Tiff Pua. Outdoor Living Unlimited WTMJ News Time is 10:34.
If you've been thinking about a makeover for your kitchen cabinets, let me tell you why now is the perfect time. During the New Year New Kitchen event at Redo Cabinets, you'll get 75% off installation with every remodeling project, plus no interest and no payments until 2027. That's right, 2027. It's Redo Cabinets' best offer of the year. You'll transform your existing kitchen with a fresh new look and premium products made right here in the USA. Quickly transform your dated kitchen without the hassle, the stress, and the cost of a full remodel. remodel with premium cabinet refacing in just days. Learn about the options, the colors, the styles, the accessories, and the savings. The Redo Cabinets New Year, New Kitchen event is on now. Get 75% off installation, plus no interest or payments until 2027. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation. Call 414-677-6417. That's 414-677-6417. Or visit RedoCabinets.com. This year, don't replace, reface with Redo Cabinets.
A buck doesn't buy much unless you're spending it at Griffin. For just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand, $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. We'll even show you the invoice to prove it. Our only requirements, we put them on for you. Buy one or the whole set. The dollar deal from Griffin. Milwaukee and Waukesha. Griffin. The buck stops here, but the deals on tires don't. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with other tire offers. Your way inside the huddle.
Hit one, hit two.
Without putting on any pads.
Hike.
It's Green and Gold Insiders on Wisconsin's Afternoon News.
Yeah, there's physical challenges and getting the range of motion back. It's really just a mental grind coming back from an ACL surgery.
Every day of the regular season at 4:15. It's Green and Gold Insiders all season long, right here on WTMJ. It's time for some forward thinking on Point Taken. Brought to you by City Forward Collective, focusing on education in Milwaukee.
Always great to be joined by our education expert. That's what I like to call him. Plessy Morgan, City Forward Collective, a local nonprofit working to ensure there's a great Milwaukee school for every Milwaukee family. Here to share how their organization is driving transformational change in Milwaukee's educational ecosystem. And welcome. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Can we still say Happy New Year?
We were debating this yesterday.
Larry David says
I think
no.
you have until the 10th.
I'm
that what
going
your
with
rule
it.
I feel like you get a full week.
I say you get a week, yeah.
Yeah, next time we see you, we probably should not be saying it.
That's fair enough.
All right, so in the last month, it's property tax bill season, and they landed in everybody's mailboxes. And we've talked a lot, Kristin and I, us three have talked about this, and Plessy Morgan is our guest, of course, from City Forward Collective, on how broken our school funding system is. And let's sort of do an overview. How did we get here? Perhaps like a reality check on where we're at.
Yeah, right. I got mine too just before the holiday break, and it's up. Statewide, I think the average is 7.8%. I've seen some that are way up above that in individual communities around the state. So people are feeling it, and a big part of that is that's how we fund. A big part of how we fund at least our public schools. The last couple of state budgets, there have been some real movements on K-12 funding, and so these have been bipartisan compromises, which means that there's a lot of blame to go around, and a lot of the wins that have happened have been shared wins as well. But I think the best way I can explain this with hopefully a simple analogy. Think about funding for any school district as a bucket. The dollars are the water. The state pours in some water first. Whatever the state doesn't fill in that bucket, that's what local districts are allowed to go out and raise in property taxes. And so a couple of things are happening here. First, the governor's 400-year veto, whatever side you sit on it, what that means is that the bucket is getting bigger every year by $325 per student each year.
It can get bigger.
It can
get
bigger.
So it's up to the local municipality to raise it, but before they were restricted.
Exactly,
Okay.
Which gets to the second part. The state did not increase state aid, meaning while the bucket can get bigger, there's no more water in that bucket. And in fact, the water that already existed is getting redistributed around a little bit. In particular, as these referendums direct some of the state aid that used to go to other places, here to Milwaukee, quite frankly, to Racine. But those two things operating together, that's a big part of what's driving these changes.
There's also a DPI piece. They have missed, apparently, their projections for special ed, special education.
Yep.
How does that play into this?
That doesn't sit inside of the revenue limits, but it is part of the overall funding formula. This session, the legislature, bipartisan basis, they said we want to, address some of the special education funding disparity. Long overdue. I'm glad they did it. We're one of the worst states in the nation on special education funding. But they got, they can only project the percentage based on, what they got from DPI. DPI said, we think we're going to spend this amount. They missed, I think, by 8 or 9%. And because they missed, it meant that, what they thought was going to be a 42% reimbursement. They're saying 35% right now. I suspect it'll land a little bit higher than that. It's always a little bit of a guessing game until we get to the end of the school year and actually know how much people have spent, but it's not going to hit the number that the legislature and the governor thought they were going to hit.
So is there anything added to the fact that it's this broken? Like, you know what I mean? As far as, because I think most people are in agreement that it shouldn't just be on property owners to fund schools, right? Because it is a public good. And I think we buy into an educated electorate is good has many positive externalities, right? But how much does this come back? Like, is it just this or that? Is it just either the state needs to put more of this in the state budget every 2 years, or it's property taxes, or is it actually a different way to be doing this?
And, I know there's a talking point out there about the state not doing enough, and that's an argument to be had. I should start by saying the state is actually doing a lot. I know we feel like this is all coming out of property taxes. There's been this sort of historic commitment to 2/3 state funding for schools. We've actually gotten back there for the last 3 years. I think we're at 68% this year. So we're over that 2/3 threshold. There was a while where we fell below that level. Not this budget, but the budget before that was part of the big deal. So for all of the property tax pain we're feeling, that's about a third of overall spending. The other 2/3 is coming out of the state budget. So it's coming from taxpayers, but in a slightly different way.
Okay.
That said, this whole system really was intended to be a stopgap from 1993, right? It was supposed to do two things. It was supposed to control property taxes. Obviously, we're failing at that. And it was supposed to ensure that school districts, not students, and we can talk about charter and private schools in a minute here, but it was supposed to ensure that school districts got the dollars that they need. And increasingly, you're hearing school districts saying it's not getting us the funding we need, and certainly not helping, hold the line on property taxes.
Kristin Morgan, City Forward Collective. We'll talk about the path forward. See what I did there on my segue?
There you go.
And the MPS piece of this, largest school district in the state, last time I checked. So we'll roll that into the conversation with our guest, Kristin Morgan, City Forward Collective, right here on Point Taken on 620 WTMJ.
Ever wonder what it takes to feel truly wealthy and financially comfortable? Schwab asked Americans that question, and most said at least $2 million. But here's the thing, your number might be different. And that makes sense because your dreams, travel, retirement, and the legacy you want to leave are unique to you. That's why you need advice that's just as personal. The team at Annex Wealth Management is ready to listen and help you build a plan that fits your life. Click the Get Started button at annexwealth.com.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer, providing equal employment, development, and advancement opportunities to all teammates and applicants. To learn more about careers with us, please send an email to talentacquisition@goodkarmabrands.com. That's talentacquisition@goodkarmabrands.com.
America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. The Army National Guard responds to disasters such as wildfires and floods. They protect us with missile defense, cybersecurity, and civilian support teams for chemical, biological, and radiological hazards. Be there for your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
With an ever-changing inventory, you never know what great bargains you're going to be able to find at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores. It makes shopping fun because the best finds are the ones you had no idea you'd even come across. And when they're at thrift store prices, it feels good. And it feels even better to know you're helping us help others. Shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th in Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul. You're gonna love it all when you shop at St. Vincent de Paul. Old things, new things here for you. We're always changing, we're always new. So many friendly people, smiles from wall to wall. You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Beautiful and safe. Decks built to last by Outdoor Living Unlimited, Wisconsin's #1 TimberTech deck installation team. For amazing ideas, go to our Outdoor Living Unlimited Instagram page. For a free estimate, go to outdoorlivingunlimited.com.
Always enjoy our conversations with Kristin Morgan, who leads the organization City Forward Collective. He is a subject matter expert, which Chris and I love to have on the program.
We do.
We're talking about education, the broken system we have in this state, but you can't talk about education, you can't talk about funding and all those things, all those storylines and narratives without talking about MPS. How do they fit into this?
Yeah, so right, MPS is the single biggest district in the state, and by a pretty sizable margin. Milwaukee is also a relatively property poor city, which is going to be important in the moment here. So when I said last, we've the 400-year veto is part of the story. The other part of the story, this zero funding, no additional state aid. What happened, the referendum that we passed in 2024, last year, Milwaukee property taxpayers felt that, a 30% property tax increase. This year, everybody else is feeling the effects of it. It's super complicated. I'm going to oversimplify the math underneath it here, but think about it like a magnet. When we in Milwaukee raise our property taxes, it also attracts more state dollars. In this case, this year, about $105 million more, even though MPS's enrollment is actually down 1,700 students. That $105 million has to come from somewhere, and if there's no new money in the pot, $105 million more is going to Milwaukee. 300 other districts around the state are all seeing some amount of funding reduction tied to that additional dollars going to MPS. And, yet another way in which the system that we built in 1993 is sort of a stopgap solution, isn't working for us anymore.
So also, I feel like a lot of times, especially public school proponents and defenders will say, the reason it's so expensive is because we're funding two different school systems. How much is that true? Yeah.
So this state spends about $8 billion on K-12 education, state spending. That's not the local portion of it. Of that $8 billion, about $350 million goes to public charter and private, to private school choice. It is a small pittance overall. Even if I add in the diversion of local property tax revenues, we're still talking about less than 10%. And on a district by district basis, in many cases, that number is zero. Importantly, here in Milwaukee, we've got both the largest number of students in the private school choice program, the largest number of students in public charter schools as well. That number for both programs this year is zero. There is no no local property tax diversion in Milwaukee, either for private schools or for public charter schools. So, I know that we talk, you hear that a lot about these as two different systems. One, we got there's an order of magnitude difference here. And the second piece of it is, that system, it's simpler. They don't really, it's sort of like system A, system B. They don't really talk to each other.
Right.
But should they? Like, would it be cheaper if it was, even if there's different types of schools, but is there a way to streamline it so that that talking point as far as it being two different systems, or does it have to be two different systems?
I think the short answer is yes, right? We would all be better off if instead of talking about systems and schools and districts and all of this, we just started this conversation in a different place. What do kids need, right? What does an individual student need to be educated well? And then actually built it out from that, which is a system that exists. 35, 36 other states around the country, red, blue, purple alike, have moved to what's called a student-based budgeting model.
So someone has started to figure this out.
Absolutely.
So what is that?
Yeah,
right? Lay that out.
Yeah, so in a student-based budgeting model, you say, every kid is, I'm going to use round numbers here, every kid is going to get $10,000 as their starting point. If that student has a special education IEP, they've got a learning disability that needs additional support, then we're going to add an additional, let's say $5,000, or depending on what that disability is, the amount of money needed to serve that kid's disability. A student who maybe is still learning English is going to get an additional $1,000 to make sure that they've got the additional bilingual education supports that they might need. A student who's growing up in a more impoverished environment, maybe that's, inner city Milwaukee, maybe that's in a rural community, or on a native reservation, they're going to see additional funding. But you start with kids. You say, what does this kid need? You try to deliver those dollars for that kid, and then you build up the budgets for a school, for a district, for a public charter school, for a private school even, based on who are you serving and what do the individual students need. That's a system that many other states are using.
So then how does that change our funding formula?
Right, you build this. The formula is built this way, right? The formula said, instead of saying we're going to fund, Wauwatosa based on here's how much property tax revenue you raised in 1993, and here are all the adjustments we've made since 1993, which is basically how the district system works. We say Well, Watosa, you've got 10,000 students, 10% of them, or whatever the number is, I'm making up numbers, but we're going to take the actual students that you're serving, the actual characteristics of those students, and then we're going to add up, whatever that pot size is, that's how you're going to get your portion of the pot.
But from the state funding?
Yes.
So you take out property taxes entirely?
You could do it either way. There are states that do it both ways. New Mexico, for instance, took out the property tax. They made a big old bargain and said the state's just going to fund all of this. We might not be able to get there. We actually have some state constitutional requirements for local property taxes to make a portion of this. But you could still do this together and say, every kid's entitled to $10,000. Maybe the first $5,000 is going to come from local property taxes, and everything after that's going to come from state aid. There are lots of different sort of permutations on the model, but we got to start with a different model. Literally, when you talk to national funding experts about Wisconsin school funding formula, we are like one of one. We get a different color on the 50-state map because it's just so crazy. That's why we spent the last 10 minutes trying to understand it.
And not a good one of one.
No, not a good one of one in this
All right.
instance.
We started this conversation talking about that attention getter, right? You get your property tax bill in the mail.
Yeah.
At this point, what's the choices? What needs to happen next at the state level so we can sort of get
what's the political will
to this better solution?
We need a better conversation about this, right? It's 2026 now, I guess, right? Welcome back to Wisconsin. It's election season once again.
Oh yeah.
And I understand everybody's trying to score their political points on whatever side of the argument that they're on, but I think one, we've had some real bipartisan progress here. That's worth noting and celebrating. It also means that there's bipartisan responsibility for the current situation we find ourselves in. And then hopefully that can lead to some real bipartisan work that says, let's not try to tweak at the edges here. Let's not try to pick winners and losers and, whatever our, whatever ideological preferences. Let's actually, it's time for us to start fresh. Let's look at what's going on in other states and let's actually build a system that works for kids rather than trying to, yet again, duct tape a system that we've spent the last 3 decades duct taping over.
Always, always, always appreciate the conversation. Kristin Morgan, City Forward Collective, a local nonprofit working to ensure that all those schools are great in Milwaukee. Every Milwaukee family can benefit from that. And always here to share how their organization is driving that transformational change in Milwaukee's educational systems. I love it. Thanks for being here, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Hopefully we got through a pretty dense topic.
I'm going to say, did you just confuse everyone more?
No, I don't think so, because I thought you laid out some ideas that are happening other places. And again, we don't want to be the bad one of one.
Yeah.
That's the message
that's the big thing.
I agree. Well, thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Quick break here on Point Taken on 620 WTMJ.
Our children deserve a real chance to make it in life, and a good education is a passport to opportunity. At City Ford Collective, we're working to make sure there's a great Milwaukee school for every Milwaukee family, because more good options lead to better outcomes. And who doesn't want that? Together, we can give every child the foundation they need to thrive, and a stronger future for kids means a stronger future for Milwaukee. To learn more about our mission, visit us at cityfordcollective.org. That's cityfordcollective.org.
Monica, we've got to hand it to you.
You and the design team have outdone yourselves.
Are you talking about the One collection?
Those rings say you are the one.
And they say it symbolically.
Describe the symbols.
Every ring in the One collection should be presented with a special ritual.
What would that ritual be?
You pick up her left hand and you place a kiss on her ring finger.
Rick, you never told me about that part.
Then you show her the tiny red diamond, flush mounted inside the ring, that will forever be in contact with her finger.
Why is it red?
Because that's when the giver says to the one, wherever you go, my heart goes with you.
I give you this kiss. I give you my heart.
The red diamond is a secret symbol of that sacred moment.
The center diamond on the outside of the ring is for the whole world to see.
But the tiny red created diamond inside the ring is only for the two of them.
The One collection of engagement rings is available exclusively at Kessler's.
To find the Kesslers nearest you,
visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
There are some things in this world that are both free and priceless at the same time, like your grandma's Christmas cookies or a spectacular sunset. When it comes to home buying, AccuNet's rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval is both free, even though it's more work on our part than a slapdash bank pre-approval. And when it comes to making sure your home buying journey doesn't include any chest-clutching surprises and avoidable mistakes, it's also priceless. Sellers and listing agents recognize AccuNet's rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval as the gold standard of our industry, not just because of our $2,000 guarantee, but because they know we've done our homework and that you're the real deal, especially if you need a bridge loan to buy that next home. You'll also like that our closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 lower than banks and the mortgage folks with the Rocket for exactly the same rate. Get started with your free, yet priceless, rock-solid, guaranteed pre-approval today by clicking on the blue button at accunet.com.
Kick off the new year with a smarter home and bigger savings with Exterior Pros and Baths. New windows to lock in the warmth, durable roofing, eye-catching siding, or a stunning bath makeover. Start the year off right and get $3,000 off your project. That's right, $3,000 back in your pocket during our New Year savings event. Call 262-800-4274 or visit extpros.com today. This deal won't last all winter. Exterior Pros and Baths. New year, new home, done right.
Mineshaft Restaurant gift cards make perfect year-round gifts as everyone loves a free meal. Through January 15th, buy a $100 gift card, get a $20 gift card free. Order online at mineshaft.restaurant.com. Big food, big fun. It's the Mineshaft.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a good karma brand station.
I said it before, I'll say it again, and we're going to give away some tickets later in the show today. The Milwaukee Boat Show is here January 16th through the 18th, 21st through the 25th. 8 days of boating excellence at the Wisconsin Expo Center, State Fair Park. Easy to find. We all know where the State Fair Park is. Expo Center's on the south side of the grounds. We'll be giving away tickets later in the second hour. It's back at the Wisconsin State Fair Park at the Expo Center. It's always a fun time, and it always serves as a reminder that the winter will be over at some point and we'll be able to get back to the recreational things we love doing here in Wisconsin. And I don't care if Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes. We have more lakes and more fun than they do. How about that?
You know, it was interesting. I've been struggling this last year to figure out the right way to show up on social media, especially when things like yesterday happen. What did pop into my head was, so often when we talk about Minnesota, it's kind of in jest as far as our rivalry with them. But God, have they been going through it.
Yeah.
Right? As far as I was texting with my uncle who lives there, lives outside in the suburbs of Minneapolis. And they still are our state neighbors. And regardless of where your partisan leanings are, the stress as far as the national implications they've been going through these last couple weeks is, my heart goes out to them as far as the stress it must cause.
It could be any city, including Milwaukee. So, I mean, don't just, throw shade at Minneapolis. Oh, that's Minneapolis. I don't care about it. No, these are important conversations that we need to have. And, we just touched it with a little bit with Rick Esselberg in the first half hour, but we're going to spend a lot of time on tomorrow's show with Joe and Bill talking about it as well. We'll take a break for news. He always joins us on Thursday. Jeremy Janine, urbanmilwaukee.com is where he does his great work. We'll have that conversation after this.
Can you feel it? It's the thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam, a game-winning touchdown, a buzzer-beating 3. Yeah, you know the feeling. And there's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. Potawatomi Sportsbook. Catch all the action in a supreme space with dozens of sports betting kiosks, cool drinks, luxe seating, great food, fiery atmosphere, and a monster video wall. Become a legend at Potawatomi Sportsbook. More info online. Must be 21 to enter casino.
Hi, this is John Neal, CPA, best-selling author, and founder of the Neal Group. Well, you made it. 2025 is in the books. Or is it? Are your books ready for 2026? Have you been able to plan for 2026 growth? Stop running your business on a wing and a prayer. Or if you feel like you are running your business on a wing and a prayer, let us help you make sense of your numbers and get your business in financial shape to move forward in 2026. Don't be stuck in the past trying to clean up your books. Get a head start on making 2026 your best year yet. Make the new tax laws work for you to put more money in your pocket. Call us now to see what your business can do. The first meeting is free. Call 414-325-2040 now. You earned it. We help you keep it. That's 414-325-2040 or visit us at nealgroup.net. That's NEAL group.net.
off the medication, and feeling so much better. Vince Vitrano here for Connect Chiropractic. One of my fellow patients, Tiara, she suffered from severe neuropathy, that's tingling and numbness in the extremities. She tried everything, finally sought care at Connect Chiropractic, and months in, her nervous system is in better sync. She's dropped 2 medications, including some heavy painkillers, because Connect Chiropractic is treating the source of the problem, not the symptoms. In Delafield, Wauwatosa, and Oak Creek, go connectchiro.com.
Looking to build or remodel? Then check out the 2026 Metro Builders Association Home Building and Remodeling Show, presented by Nuns January 9th through 11th at State Fair Park. Learn about the latest home building and remodeling trends from over 150 MBA industry experts. And be sure to check out the all-new Builder Boulevard. If building or remodeling is on your 2026 to-do list, then don't miss the NBA Home Building and Remodeling Show this weekend at State Fair Park. For more information and tickets, visit NBAHomeshow.com.
Start your Milwaukee weight loss program now to lose weight fast. 20 to 30 pounds. How about a month or two? Call for your free weight loss consultation. 262-449-1180. That's 262-449-1180. Or online at MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. That's MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com.
Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The place you want to go, Lynch McWanago.
Nobody sells for less than Lynch.
Stay up to date with your trusted and relevant source in news, sports, traffic, and weather. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 11 o'clock, it's 45 degrees, increasing clouds. You could see some rain later on today, a high getting up around 51. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Neil Doyle. Demonstrators taking to the streets in Minneapolis protesting the shooting death of a woman by an ICE agent. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz calling on protesters to keep things civil.
They want a show. We can't give it to them. We cannot. If you protest and express your First Amendment rights, please do so peacefully, as you always do.
The White House says the woman who was shot and killed was using her car as a weapon and that the agent acted in self-defense. The Senate advancing a war powers resolution, pushing back on any further U.S. military action in Venezuela.
The measure, crafted under the 1973 War Powers Act, aims to prevent the president from using the U.S. military in Venezuela going forward without congressional authorization. Co-sponsor California Democrat Adam Schiff.
If we don't stand up, not just for our branch of government, but for the American people, there is no telling and no stopping what comes next.
But even if both houses were to send the resolution to the White House, aides say President Trump would veto it. It would then take a 2/3 vote in both houses to enact the restriction into law. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Some mixed news on crime in Milwaukee for 2025. Overall crime numbers down, but homicides were up. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson.
Each homicide in Milwaukee brings pain. Loved ones are lost, and in a disproportionate number of killings, guns are the weapons that are most used. We got to do more to keep guns out of the hands of people who should not possess them.
Johnson says the city's public safety approach will continue to focus on accountability and prevention. Jobs slightly up across Wisconsin. The state's unemployment rate holding steady at 3.1%. Those employment numbers, though, are from November. Data still delayed after the federal government shutdown. Department of Workforce Development says job numbers were slightly down in industries like construction, manufacturing, and hospitality. Time for news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow was up 289 points at 49,280. The NASDAQ off 123 at 23,460. And the S&P 500 is slightly up about 2 points at 6,922. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:03.
St. Anne's Center for Intergenerational Care switched from a previous vendor to business technology from James Imaging Systems. Why? CFO Sally Parente.
The service, the value, and the ease with which we can just keep using their service and not having any big headaches. It's not just all about the money. We're getting value here as well.
Robert Prang, CIO at Tri-City National Bank, likes the fact that James Imaging is local.
So being able to work with a local company like James that has that flexibility with their staff and being able to deliver for us has given us the ability to make the right decisions for our organization.
And Junior Achievement of Wisconsin VP of Enterprise Services, Lori Salzman, had this advice for others.
If anybody is looking for a good partner that is there to help find solutions, call James Imaging.
James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner. Visit jamesimaging.com.
The fact is, without us, you'll pay more. When you buy advertising, unless you're seeking out every avenue that the chosen medium has to offer and negotiating with every entity to find out what the true floor is, there's no way you can know if you really did get your best deal. In fact, there's a big chance that you'll overpay. We've done all the legwork, and with a very high volume of consistent year-in and year-out billing, we've uncovered rates that we're sure will surprise you. Anderson-Smith.com. We help small business advertisers get better results. The proof is in the pudding. Advertisers that hire us stick with us for years and years because they trust us, because we always promptly respond to customer needs, and because bottom line, we get results. Go to Anderson-Smith.com's Our Clients page to see who trusts us and check out a long list of real advertising success. Then hit the Contact Us button, email me, and I'll call you in short order because it's time we grew your business. Anderson-Smith.com.
Time for a WTMJ sports update from the Gruber Law offices. One call, that's all sports desk. Milwaukee Bucks, next few games out on the West Coast, but they fell last night to the Golden State Warriors, 120-113.
I just thought they made all the tough plays tonight, all the loose balls, all the big rebounds, played through contact, and I didn't think we did that tonight.
Bucks continuing that road trip tomorrow night against the LA Lakers. First semifinal of the college football playoff is this evening. Miami taking on Ole Miss in the Fiesta Bowl. Winner then moving on to the national title game. That is a 6:30 kick. Wisconsin women's basketball, they'll be on the floor tonight against Purdue. Also a 6:30 start at the Kohl Center. Badger Sports Updates are sponsored by Siding Unlimited, siding, and a whole lot more. Take a look at the roads, your WTMJ time saver traffic. A little bit of a slowdown, typical nowadays on 94. That's in our construction zone. You're on the brakes westbound. That starts at 35th Street until you get through the stadium interchange. A few other disabled vehicles across the system, but none of them causing issues, so you're moving along nicely. We'll see clouds continue to increase throughout today. Mild conditions. We could see some rain late this afternoon, a high around 51. Tonight, we'll see some scattered rain showers, maybe a few thunderstorms mixed in, a low down to 37. For Friday, we could see some rain early, partly cloudy conditions, a high near 43. And then into the weekend, Saturday, we could see a rain-snow mix. Maybe a little bit of accumulation as well Saturday. Cooler as well with highs in the mid-30s. Right now, 39 degrees in Sheboygan. It is 44 in Kenosha, and we're sitting at 45 degrees in Milwaukee. I'm Neil Doyle, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:07.
11 o'clock on a Thursday means it's time for a full hour of city stories with Urban Milwaukee President Jeremy Janine on Point Taken.
Indeed, indeed, we are back. We haven't seen you for a couple weeks because the holidays kept falling on a Thursday.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's been like 3 weeks since we've seen you.
It certainly seems that way. Glad to be here. Happy. I'm rested up, ready to go.
Are you?
Well, we'll pretend at least.
All right, good. All
so
right.
you have 3 weeks worth of stories.
I thought that would be the case, and then I remembered I slow down too during that.
Fair enough.
There you go.
Fair enough. All right. So let's just keep the bit rolling, even though Steve hates bits. The HPV update that we've all been looking for.
Yes, and then that was my title and my message to you guys of what we're going to talk about. HPV, not the virus, but what the city calls HPV, which is habitual parking violators. These are the people that have 5 or more unpaid parking tickets. The city, going back to like January of last year now, had a report that said, okay, we have millions of dollars in unpaid parking tickets, and something like $8.7 million of that could be attributed to this group of They're really license plates, not people, but 39,000 vehicles. Well, the city went and figured out like 10,000 of those are, these tickets are old enough and that license plate is out of service for whatever reason. They got down, the council went through some consternation, passed a new policy. November 1st, 28,000 letters went out to these scofflaws, these HPVs, that said, within 60 days, if you haven't gotten a payment plan and we see your vehicle parked, not parked illegally, but parked anywhere on public property, so city streets, wherever, we're going to tow it. And that's now gone into effect. We have some initial data on what's happened in terms of how many people paid right away. The city actually did get a 6-figure sum, but things are moving. The city was towing these people before, but now they've given them a warning, and they were only towing them before if they were parked illegally.
Okay, so what are some of the numbers that we have initially?
Sure, we have 551 people paid about 2,500 parking tickets, and that knocked out about $120,000 of the debt.
Okay.
So out of 8.7 million, there's a lot of unpaid tickets still out there. I'd assume some of those 28,000 people that got letters are never driving that vehicle back into the city of Milwaukee again, so it's uncollectible debt. But there's a lot of people that are now on notice that could get out of this situation for as little as $20 a month on a payment plan.
And how many cars have they towed?
They have not said yet.
Okay.
It just went into effect. I was like, okay, what date will you be able to tell me how many cars you towed without me going through some arduous public records process? And they said the end of the month.
Okay.
All right, so maybe I asked you this before. I don't remember if I did. Any elected officials who are against this enforcement?
Marina Dmitrievich had a lot of concerns about like the equity aspect of it. The city's equity and inclusion officer also had concerns at the time. They asked for a delay, but Alderman Robert Bauman pointed out, well, a delay doesn't mean we're not towing anyone. We're towing people today. And part of the reason Scott Spiker, who supported this policy, he has a son who he learned qualified for this when he found the tickets, I believe, on the floor in his son's room.
Ooh.
And he said, well, don't you
Awkward.
know, like the next time you're parked illegally, they're not going to give you a warning. They're just going to take your car. And so it becomes this very expensive snowballing problem very quick. So Scott Spiker thinks this is a gentler policy. We're going to send you a notice. We're going to say for $20 a month on a payment plan, you can get off this list. Dmitrievich said, no, this is like potentially very dangerous. And one of the, I guess, ethical challenges is the city's oldest neighborhoods are often its most impoverished, not exclusively, but that's where the people are most likely to park on the street. So there is a correlation between where the habitual parking violators are and the low-income areas.
Did
of the
Marina
city.
have a different solution?
Not immediately.
Okay.
Well, shame on her, because if you're going to complain, you have to have an idea that's going to fix the problem, because clearly this is a problem.
Yeah, she wanted to review the city's whole towing framework. The council seemed to, in the end, just want to tweak it.
Got it.
All right, so there's a number of stories we could go to. This one hits close to home because I'm not a fan of speed bumps, and I noticed driving through your beautiful area of Bayview that they're well marked on the sign part of this, but why aren't those things painted yellow or something? They like at night.
They blend in a little bit.
Way too much.
Yeah, so the challenge with that, there's a couple things there. One, Marquette campus is a great example of a way you can paint them in front of the Jesuit church, is you have to mix the paint into the concrete itself. If right now we just went and painted anywhere on the street, the next time it snows and the city salts the street and the plow trucks go over it, that paint would likely disappear. Or you can look at like those yellow stripes down the middle of the street. Those also disappear, unfortunately, when it gets dark, unless they're the very expensive reflecting ones.
And I try to obey those. I see the signs. But it's like, man, those are some serious speed bumps down that street.
That actually is an interesting question, because for a long time it seems like some of the objections to speed bumps, speed humps, was how snowplows would maneuver around them. Obviously, we had a pretty snowy December, and now that there are a lot of speed humps and speed bumps, has there been issues?
To my understanding, they're not an issue for the snowplow. The snowplow is going slow enough, and the speed bump is essentially heavy enough that when it hits the speed bump, it just goes up and over and back down.
Okay.
And it's curved at
So
such
not
a
an
gradient.
issue.
All right.
Yeah.
So you wrote a restaurant sort of piece to this story. A restaurant story that's related to speed. I'm just reading what you.
Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah.
Temple Goddess, which is on, I got to get my streets right, Farwell and Lafayette. It used to be the Lafayette Place was actually the restaurant that was there for years. The Lafayette Place closed essentially because someone crashed into the restaurant. It's a one-way street. You turn left.
Oh, yeah.
There. Temple Goddess is now taking the unusual step of using the city's process to petition for a speed hump because they see so many close calls of people almost running into their business. They've only been there like a year. The prior business closed because someone crashed into it. it's a dangerous spot where it's a two-lane one-way street on Farwell Avenue going south. So people are in the right-hand lane and they're trying to turn left. You shouldn't be doing that. So they take this big swooping hook motion, puts them right in front of the restaurant where the restaurant is very vulnerable.
Would it be against the law or codes for the restaurant away from the restaurant on the other side of the sidewalk to put those like concrete barriers on their own, sort of separating the sidewalk from the street?
I think the problem is the sidewalk is so small.
Yeah,
this is going to require. This is a very small.
Yeah.
The sidewalk is very narrow right there. The restaurant it's an addition to an old house, so it's right up against the street.
It's a small restaurant too. It's a small space.
Yes.
What was it called?
Temple Goddess.
What kind of food?
It is vegan Mediterranean food. I think you.
No wonder I've never been there.
I knew you were saying that.
Expand your horizons.
All right. He is Jeremy Janine. UrbanMilwaukee.com is where you can find their great reporting on all things Milwaukee. We're just getting warmed up with Jeremy on this Thursday edition of Point Taken. She's Kristin, I'm Steve. Stick around.
What's on Tap with Sandy Max, keeping you updated on culture and creativity.
The Wisconsin Film Office. We could say it out loud. It's going to happen. Academy Award winner John Ridley.
So I'm glad that Wisconsin is getting in the game. I hope they stay in the game. Wisconsin is great because it has so many different looks. It has so many different places. It has places that are untouched. It has places that are incredibly modern.
What's on Tap with Sandy Max, weeknights at 6 on WTMJ.
Hey, this is WTMJ, Steve Scaffidi for Advent. I had snoring issues, kept my wife up, Kathy, all night because I was snoring and she wasn't, and she was trying to sleep. And probably woke myself up a lot more than I realized as well. And that poor sleep can lead to very tired mornings, especially on the radio. My nose wasn't working properly, but here's the difference. I did something about it. I went to Advent. Before I ever was a spokesperson, I went to Advent to find out what my issue was. They added in a really simple sleep study at home in my own bed. They figured it out for me. My root cause? Sinuses, nasal passages in my breathing triangle. After a short procedure done in office, I'm back to breathing better than ever, sleeping through the whole nights. That could be you. If you struggle like I used to with restless nights, take the time to see how Advent can help you to find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your nights better. Go to adventknows.com and schedule an appointment today like I did, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Close your eyes and picture Europe by water, sunlit ports, ancient cities, and effortless elegance. With Viking Cruises and Fox World Travel, the Mediterranean becomes your front porch. No crowds, no casinos, just culture, cuisine, and curated experiences designed for curious travelers. From Italy to Greece, every detail is handled, so all you do is savor the journey. Ready to sail Europe the refined way? Call 866-GO-FOX-GO or visit foxworldtravel.com to book today.
I'm WTMJ's Sandy Max. What makes senior living at Three Pillars so special? Let's hear from my friend Bill.
We didn't want to be sitting in our house alone. And I was glad because I didn't have to do all the chores around the house that I was sick of doing. I decided to get involved in a lot of the different activities, like the theater group. I run TED Talks once a month. I'm chairman of the library committee. The other things I like about Three Pillars is the outdoor things. And there's a beautiful fishing pond. It's just a great, great place to live.
Schedule a tour today at threepillars.org.
Well, welcome back. We are talking to Jeremy Janine like we do every Thursday, unless it's a holiday and we have off. But I wouldn't mind this. I would say in our house, I've said this before, one of the there's not a lot of gendered tasks in our house. We share a lot of things equally. But when it comes to shoveling snow, unless he is out of town, Mike usually goes ahead and gets that done. But it sounds like there's a proposal for the city to shovel your sidewalks.
Yes, which is something that happens in Montreal. I learned Rochester, New York does it if more than 4 inches of snow falls. Alderman Bauman isn't proposing the city immediately do this, but he wants to know what the cost would be.
Okay.
And so to put things in perspective, because cost is going to be the big issue here, Milwaukee, on its snow removal operations, which includes shoveling its own properties, but mostly it's plowing the streets, spends between $8 and $15 million every year. That big delta is because it snows a different amount every year.
Makes sense.
Montreal, the city in Canada that is kind of the leader on we clear all the snow regardless of where it falls, they spent $200 million.
Well, they get a lot more snow, or is it just they've chosen a more expensive way to do it?
They do get a lot more snow, and then they shovel your sidewalks.
Yeah.
They not only do they shovel your sidewalks, but they remove the snow. So you think in downtown, like snow just kind of piles up. Well, they truck it out of there to get it out of the way. And that's somewhat appealing to Robert Bauman, the downtown alderman, and me, a downtown store owner, because there's not snowbanks then people have to climb over.
Yeah, and the parking situation. I have a terrible story as far as like Brady Street when the snow's very, very high, and then on a two-way street where you can park on the street, those two lanes become very, very narrow.
Very narrow. So Bob Bauman's in early December, he asked DPW, and they haven't completed this yet, but to come up with what's the gold, silver, and bronze plan so I can tell my constituents, hey, you want to get this level of snow removal? Here's what it's going to cost. He seemed to indicate he supports, at least for certain areas, doing this higher level of snow removal. The city would assess it via fee. Currently, in the city of Milwaukee, residents pay a snow and ice fee. So you could do it on a neighborhood basis where downtown property owners could pay a higher fee and they could get a higher level of snow removal, or if the west side decided, or whatever neighborhood. But this is an idea.
And it would be removal. It would be like, so we don't have the benefit here is not so much that you don't have to shovel yourself. It's that they're actually taking the snow, and so we don't have massive snowbanks impeding street parking.
That maybe that's the gold standard. What's
Okay.
the silver cost if they just come out and shovel?
Okay.
Sort of related, but maybe not. They had an issue with a lot of leaves left from the fall, and then the big snows came, and that sort of all coalesced together. Have they resolved that, or?
I mean, Mother Nature just got in the way. What we're seeing, this is me monitoring it now for several years, is every year the city extends its leaf collection. So they say, I think it's October 1st, hey, we're starting to collect leaves. Well, the leaves don't fall off the trees now until later. And part of that's presumably climate change. It's warmer longer, so the leaves aren't falling off. What we had that was unusual this year was we had a really heavy snowstorm right after Thanksgiving that covered up all the leaves that hadn't yet been picked up. And now they're all uncovered, and you can drive around the city and see them.
But that's, at some point, it's a lost cause because some of them get plowed back onto the properties. It's like
A lot of them go down the drain.
Yeah, how do you even get that mess cleaned up?
The city's DPW's opinion was, we'll get to it by spring, but it's going to be really tough. And this gets to the shoveling problem. The same problem here is there aren't a snow removal crew that's their full-time job. There isn't a leaf pickup crew. It's the same people being reassigned to different tasks. So when you look at how would the city shovel your sidewalks? Well, they'd probably have to go hire a bunch of private contractors. They could also tackle picking up the leaves right now, but again, they'd have to go hire a bunch of private contractors.
It sounds so easy. You just get one of those small plows or the ones that blow the snow out. But again, some people want to have it. Some they want to do their own thing. It's never going to be a perfect solution for this.
Yes. I'll be very curious what numbers we get here if they're at all reasonable figures that, oh yeah, we could do River West if everyone in River West paid an extra $50 a year. Maybe River West would be interested in that. I'm just throwing out a neighborhood.
Probably not.
I made a fortune when I was a kid, and obviously this is a long time ago, but we would go shovel people's driveways and sidewalks for money. And I'm not kidding. By the end of a storm, we'd have like $100 cash in our pockets, $5 a pop.
There's kids who still do that.
I hope so, because that's an easy money maker. I mean, it's hard work, but man,
I almost every snow fall, I have someone knock on our door and say, hey, can we do this if it hasn't been done yet?
And one thing we also see that in Bayview. One thing I should touch on, because I'm sure there's texters right now, the city of Milwaukee plowing alleys. The city of Milwaukee doesn't plow alleys, and there's a reason they don't do it. They would need different trucks so that if the city sends out its garbage truck and plows your alley, you might think, great, my alley's plowed. But if you have a garage in that alley, you're now complaining because you're going to be blocked in by this pile of snow.
You can't get in.
There are private contractors that the city, I don't know that they recommend them, but certify them, and you can hire them jointly. Our block hires one for like $700 a year. It's a good value. They use a smaller piece of equipment so you don't block in everyone.
Where are we going next?
Let's finish up this short segment with the church that is becoming a luxury apartment building. Yes, I got to pull it up in front of me. Summerfield United Methodist Church, which is the church right behind the subway on Juneau Avenue. It closed in 2023. At that point, it had, I think, 12 or 11 members, none of which was under the age of 65. So this was a 100-plus-year-old church.
It's beautiful.
The congregation dates back, I think, even to the 1850s. The building itself is over 100 years old. There's a Chicago developer that specializes in converting churches to high-end housing. They're filed this week for permits to do so. Part of what they do is the pitched roof at the top. They punch some windows into it, so you could live essentially at the very top of the church in what used to be this roof space.
So how many units do they project that they can be able to put into a church like this?
There is an attached parsonage that's part of this. They plan to put in 30 high-end apartment units.
Really? The church is that big?
Well, they're inserting floors in the big
Okay.
5 space.
5-layer cake.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's
good use of the property.
For sure. I was trying to imagine what that could look like as far as turning it into apartments. Like we've talked about this before, of like the surplus of churches that are not being used and what is some of the creative things that they're being turned into. And 30 apartments is harder for me to like look at a church and see versus a roller skating rink, like I said, there is in San Francisco.
Yes, the architects are making their money here because this is very complicated to insert all these in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea, though. I mean, retrofitting a very old building. All right, Jeremy, Janine, UrbanMilwaukee.com. Where's your great store at? How can folks find out about it?
755 North Milwaukee Street, corner of Milwaukee and Mason, Urban Milwaukee, thestore.com for all things Milwaukee and Wisconsin gifts.
And you may even catch a glimpse of Jeremy in there occasionally.
Have you been yet?
No, I was going to go, and then I got...
Busy?
Yeah, at
So
work.
busy.
So busy.
We could use all the January shoppers we can get.
I'll promise I'll get in there. And I'm a shopper when I want to on my own time.
I think I just got a gift card for Christmas, though.
Yeah, I love gift cards. That's why you got a gift card, as did Jazz. Jeremy, nothing. All right, quick break here on Point Taken.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here. I know, get the decorations down, get the wrapping paper put away. Let's get back on track. Let's plan out the rest of the winter and cool things to do during the spring and summer here in Wisconsin. Join me Saturdays at 1 p.m. for Experience Wisconsin. We will give you great ideas, introduce you to fun people, some of the best and brightest in our state. On this week's show, the town of Brookfield and Wisconsin's Elkhart Lake. It is Saturdays at 1 o'clock, Experience Wisconsin, right here on 620 WTMJ.
Hey, business owners thinking about selling your business but not sure where to start? Hey, it's WTMJ, Steve Scaffidi here. Join me for an Annex Wealth Management webinar on January 20th at 1 p.m., where I'll be joined by Anthony Malachnik and Brian Lamborn. Will answer your biggest questions, who to consult, and when the timing may be right to sell. Register now for this free webinar on Tuesday, January 20th at 1 p.m. I love these webinars. They do such a great job on them. Visit annexwealth.com. Click on the events tab to save your spots.
Well, when it comes to decorative glass, there aren't many places that offer as much to you as we do. With our in-house artist, you can have your hand in the design process, or you can let them design something for you that you may have never even dreamed of. Beautiful works of art in stained and leaded glass formats, as well as etched glass and even rice paper designs that have become a pretty hot look. In China and Japan, many homes are designed with lattice windows covered with rice paper. The translucent paper diffuses natural light entering the room and creates a serene ambiance. Throughout the day, as the light changes, so will your atmosphere. So whatever your decorative glass needs are, you don't have to look very far. Just call me. This is Stacy Sinks with Less's Glass Service. If it's a new glass shower door, fogged or broken insulated glass replacement, or affordable glass and mirror home decor that you've been looking for, you just can't pass on Less's Glass. Less's Glass Service, serving all of southeastern Wisconsin. Find us at lessglassservice.com.
Kick off the new year with a smarter home and bigger savings with Exterior Pros and Baths. New windows to lock in the warmth, durable roofing, eye-catching siding, or a stunning bath makeover. Start the year off right and get $3,000 off your project. That's right, $3,000 back in your pocket during our New Year Savings event. Call 262-800-4274 or visit extpros.com today. This deal won't last all winter. Exterior Pros and Baths. New year, new home, done right.
Jeremy Janine joining us in studio from UrbanMilwaukee.com. Great local resource for all things news in Milwaukee. All right. Who said the restaurant industry was struggling?
Well, I think they're... All right, go ahead.
I say that tongue-in-cheek just because...
I know, that's why I asked the question.
Sophie Bullock does an excellent job for us chronicling all the new restaurants and bars that open within the city of Milwaukee. She keeps, as you guys keep a spreadsheet for the show, what's coming, she keeps this spreadsheet that is the bane of her existence because it's everything that's proposed, and then she tracks if it's open. And so this other outlet in town, I won't name them, did a story of like 30 new restaurants that opened this year. And Sophie was laughing because she's like, well, the number just in the city of Milwaukee alone, not even Milwaukee County or the region, is so much larger than that.
So this is bars, restaurants, is it like coffee shops, or what's all included?
If they get, what's included is if you get a food dealer license or a liquor license from the city of Milwaukee.
Okay.
And there are 117 that opened. And every month she compiles it for us, but she did an extra kind of year-end wrap-up column. So this is everything from big chains to mom and pop businesses that are opening. So we talk a lot about restaurants struggling and closing, but the community of food entrepreneurs and bar entrepreneurs is going strong. Lots of openings.
It is interesting that it's so many people's dream to own a bar or a restaurant, despite that, like, conventional wisdom being like the margins are low, it's a hard business to be in, but clearly there is still the desire to open your own place. Do you have any insight on that?
As someone who's founded a number of businesses that make almost no money, I can say that it's just a very tempting thing to go into these fields. I think people think they're skilled at it, and they probably are. It's just very difficult to make money doing that. And so that's why I think some of these businesses on Sophie's list of the 117 have already closed.
That was going to be my next question.
And then you have stalwarts like Beans and Barley that make it 50 plus years. We hope many of these businesses on this list get to that point, but it's a challenging industry.
Yeah, and it's such a great restaurant city, Milwaukee, and we have so many cool ones of all types and sizes, and
even vegan Mediterranean restaurants that Steve can't wait to go to.
I wonder if they'll reach out to me, because I'm willing.
Do you want to go? Let's go for lunch.
Yeah, not today. I'm very busy, but definitely want to do that. All right, let's save the fights updates for after the news. Jeremy and Janine, urbanmilwaukee.com is where you can find their work. And for those of you who love this segment and love hearing about Milwaukee news, this is like a nice solid hour chunk of our days where we really focus on the city of Milwaukee. Last time I checked, that's where we are.
We're in
downtown Milwaukee on Wisconsin Avenue, right next to the 3rd Street Market Hall. So Jeremy provides us with a lot of really good information, and I encourage you to sign up, and it's pretty simple.
Yeah, urbanmilwaukee.com at the very top of the site, or anywhere you hit a paywalled article, sign up. It starts as low as $9 a month.
Yeah, very affordable, and a great resource for all you Milwaukeeans. All right, the distinguished Neil Doyle will update us on local news. Before we get to any or all of that, here's the latest from ABC.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Demonstrations continue in Minneapolis a day after an ICE officer shot and killed Renee Good, a city resident, inside her car after authorities say she blocked traffic and attempted to threaten officers with her vehicle. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in New York today continuing to call it an act of domestic terrorism.
I'm not going to get specific to this officer, but he's an experienced officer that has served a number of years, and we recognize that he acted according to his training.
The FBI heading the investigation today. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension superintendent says the state agency is being pushed out of the investigation by the FBI. The Senate narrowly passed a measure aimed at limiting the president's war powers without getting congressional approval. It follows President Trump's actions to oust Venezuela's leader Nicolas Maduro. Maryland's U.S. Representative Steny Hoyer, the longest-serving House Democrat, announcing today he will leave Congress at the end of his term. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:31. I'm Neil Doyle. The teen accused of killing his parents and stealing their money to plan an assassination attempt on President Trump pleads guilty. Now 18-year-old Nikita Kasap facing life in prison for the deaths of his mother and stepfather. He's accused of shooting them in February of last year at their home in Waukesha, then taking $14,000 in cash and jewelry. He was then arrested after a traffic stop in Kansas. Federal authorities had accused Kasap of planning his parents' murders and using that money to kill President Trump. He'll be sentenced in March. A Milwaukee Public Schools varsity basketball coach suspended after allegations of slapping a student. It happened at Milwaukee School of Languages during a practice before the holiday break. The school says an investigation is underway. An assistant coach was appointed to lead the varsity team. Wisconsin lawmakers considering two bills to improve conditions in all jails and prisons across the state. One measure would cap costs on most personal hygiene products for inmates, while the other would require the Wisconsin Department of Corrections to provide free menstrual products. Supporters say while the DOC currently offers some of those products, access is not guaranteed, leading to health concerns. Both of those bills still need approval in the Assembly and Senate. Time for news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow is up over 0.5%, sitting at 49,315. The NASDAQ off 133 points at 23,450. S&P 500 is slightly up about 2 points at 6,920. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Take a look at the roads. Your WTMJ time saver traffic. Still a little bit of a slowdown there on 94 westbound in our construction zone. That starts at 35th. Kind of tapping the brakes until you get past the stadium there. Otherwise, just a few disabled vehicles on the system. None of them really causing any issues, so you're moving along nicely. Take a look at your forecast. We'll see clouds continue to increase throughout the day. Maybe some rain later on as well, but it is mild, breezy out. High getting up around 51. Tonight we'll see some scattered rain, maybe a thunderstorm mixed in, and a low down to 37. Friday we could see some rain early, otherwise partly cloudy and a high near 43. And then into the weekend Saturday, a rain-snow mix. We could see some snow accumulation between 1 and 3 inches on Saturday. Cooler as well with highs in the mid-30s. Right now, 45 degrees in Madison. It's 48 in Waukesha, and we're sitting at 47 degrees in Milwaukee. I'm Neil Doyle, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:34.
WTMJ's John Mercure here. I love my dogs, Bella and Baxter, an important part of our family. They're kind of like kids sometimes, and like kids, they weren't always listening, but I've got it figured out now. Thanks to Matt and his teams at Sit Means Sit Dog Training, our dogs are better behaved. They don't bark as much. They just listen better. They're happy, confident, obedient. Our house is a better house. Sit Means Sit Dog Training turned it around for us. Let them do the same for you. You can start with a free consultation. The website is sitmeansitwaukesha.com. Sitmeansitwaukesha.com.
Education changes everything. It opens doors, shapes futures, and builds the foundation for our children's success. At City Ford Collective, we're working to transform our city's schools and ensure every Milwaukee child receives the high-quality education they deserve. We've taken real steps forward, but our work is far from done. This giving season, we're asking you to join us. Together, we can secure a stronger future for our children and a stronger future for Milwaukee. To support our mission, visit cityforwardcollective.org/donate. That's cityforwardcollective.org/donate.
Hey, check this out. There's free pizza today at the Mine Shaft Family Restaurant in Hartford. Seriously, it is free. John Mercure here. Every Thursday, when you buy one pizza, you get a second pizza free. Buy 2, get 2 free pizzas. Buy 10, get 10 free. If you buy 25 pizzas, you'll get 25 free pizzas. Bring in pizza today for your loyal employees or for your holiday office or company party. Your employees will love the delicious pizza, and you'll love it because half your pizzas are free, saving your company a ton of money. Order now, pick up later, or dine in. Coaches, bring in your team today for the free pizza with that huge game room. It's super affordable team bonding. Don't cook and clean. Buy one pizza, get one free at the Mine Shaft today. Plenty to take home for a snack or leftovers, maybe lunch at work tomorrow. The Mine Shaft is decorated with lights and Christmas characters. It is big-time fun in festive downtown Hartford, near the interstate in Oshkosh. Lots of seating, close parking. It's the Mine Shaft.
As he does every Thursday, Jeremy Janine, UrbanMilwaukee.com. Great Milwaukee reporting. Let's see, update on this fight.
Yeah, Steve, you missed a couple of these, but Kristin and I had talked at length about this at one point, I remember.
She loves a good fight.
I do. That's what people say about me.
The Common Council and Mayor Cavalier Johnson, and the Common Council led by President Jose G. Perez, have been at, well, that's only in journalism, written word. No one says the G out loud. Jose Perez, they're at loggerheads often. And all of a sudden, the city attorney inserted himself in it late in 2025, perhaps unintentionally and perhaps just because he was doing his job, which is that the city attorney has to sign off that any ordinance is legal and enforceable. And the Common Council wanted to codify a proposal that all of Mayor Johnson's cabinet every year had to go to each of the council members and basically get a performance review, then compile that and share that with the whole council, and that would be a written requirement. And Evan Goyke, city attorney, said, no, actually, state law says that these people serve at the pleasure of the mayor, so you really can't be their boss. And the mayor has extended, and the council got real mad and considered overruling Goyke's advice in January, which they're legally allowed to do. But the mayor, late in 2025, extended an olive branch and said, okay, here's what I'd like to do. In January of every year, I will tell all my cabinet officials, hey, meet with the council members, reach out to them, and we'll just do it all in January instead of this being this year-long thing, and get some informal feedback in private meetings, and then we'll use that to hopefully have a better working relationship. I asked Mark Chambers about it, and Alderman Mark Chambers is one of the leaders of this. He said, well, it's something, But he still wants to codify it. So what's coming up now is the question of, will the city attorney work with the council to reorganize its legislation to make it legal, or will the council just overrule the city attorney?
Have you been able to get a feeling or an idea of where the city attorney, how he feels? Like, is he kind of just put in the middle of all these different things? Does he have allegiances that you've been able to decipher or pick up on?
The city attorney has good relationships on both sides of the aisle. And for those listening, the city attorney is an independently elected person.
Yeah.
So he doesn't work for the mayor or the common council. He works for the city of Milwaukee and the voters.
So that's what I mean. It's like, have you been able to, is he doing a pretty good job of staying independent?
I think so.
Okay.
So the council wants the weakest mayor possible, basically. They don't want to have him decide anything.
Yeah, and that's probably been true of basically every council ever, but this council is really going after it. They're basically trying to undo, I believe it's 6250, the state statute that John Norquist had changed in the 1980s, which created a strong mayor system in Milwaukee. The council is clearly trying to undo that.
But it's state law.
It is state law.
So they're going to openly challenge state law because they want their way.
Or they have their own lobbyists, and they might even seek to get the state law changed.
Who's the ringleader of this effort? Let's name names.
I mean, I think Jose Perez is the leader of the council. But
No, I know he is. Who's pushing hardest on this issue? I want you to name the name so we know who I need to talk to.
There's so many different little fights within this, I think, is the challenge. That every council member has their own issue that they want more control over.
But what's also interesting is that I would imagine there is at least a handful of council members who would like to be mayor someday.
And that's always in the background of these debates.
As far as like taking power away from a position that they would maybe one day have.
Yes. And I think a lot of this is just both sides need to work better together.
Okay.
And that's been a challenge on both sides in different ways.
Got it.
All right, we got 1 minute before the break. What's your 1 minute story?
I have two things coming next week that I think we'll be discussing at length. One is a city official, not an elected official, that is by dint of his position required to live in the city of Milwaukee. They do not. So we'll have that coming. And then I have a story coming on why a certain high-profile city official left their job.
Oh, those are good teasers. Can't wait to be here next. Are you working next Thursday?
I will be here next Thursday.
Right. Me too. That's a rarity nowadays. All right. So we'll continue the conversation with Jeremy, Janine, urbanmilwaukee.com after this On Point Taken right here on 620 WTMJ.
It's Gina Della. You've heard me define what makes Pella Windows and Doors different. Let me introduce you to the woman behind the billboards, commercials, and share my extraordinary journey of resilience, reinvention, and shattering glass ceilings every Saturday morning at 6:30 on 620 WTMJ and anywhere you stream podcasts for What's the Difference with Gina Della to discuss business coaching across all industries, featuring successful executives, entrepreneurs, and mentors along the way. This is a story you won't want to miss.
Hey, this is WTMJ, Steve Scaffidi from Milwaukee Weight Loss. Have you contacted them yet? I did early last year, changed my life, lost 45 pounds, kept the weight off because they have been able to reset my metabolism. It's an incredible program. It's the secret, by the way, to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day with no exercise, none of the prepackaged stuff, none of the shots, none of the drugs, no surgery, no risk of serious side effects. Sound good? Well, there's no better time to do it than right now. Give yourself the gift of a new you. And a new weight, for that matter, in the new year. Schedule your free consultation by visiting MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. I've told you about what I did last year, and if I can do it, you can do it. It's not that difficult. It can be a program where you work with your great coaches at Milwaukee Weight Loss together to lose the weight. Maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's a reunion. Maybe it's another big event in your life, wedding for that matter. Call today. Do not wait. Here's the number. I'll give you 2 times. 262-449-1180. That's 262-449-1180. Or go online at MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Start changing your life. Start changing your weight right now.
Who doesn't need a seasonal wardrobe update? But who has the cash to always keep their wardrobe updated? Ladies, that's why you shop St. Vincent de Paul. Our women's clothing is always a highlight of our stores, and thrift store prices keep the costs low. It allows you to experiment and also find a hidden gem. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
No matter how many people are in your family, buying new jackets for the cold weather months can be expensive. But when you shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, prices on cold weather jackets will give you a sigh of relief because thrift store prices mean great deals. And right now we have a great selection. Find great deals on cold weather jackets for the family at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Fox & Hound's gift cards make wonderful year-round gifts as everyone loves a free dinner. Through January 15th, buy a $100 gift card, get a $20 gift card for free. Order online at foxandhoundsrestaurant.com. It's a great place. It's the famous Fox & Hounds.
All right, let's do it. Milwaukee Boat Show. We're giving away tickets right now. All those people who have been so patient with our show today, and Jeremy and Jeannie will get back to him in a second. It's January 16th through the 18th, 21st through the 25th at the Wisconsin Expo Center. Easy to find, State Fair Park, south part of the grounds. 8 days of boating excellence. Caller number what, Kristin? What number would you like to pick today?
6.
Caller number 6 to 855-616-1620. 855-616-1620. Caller number 6 will win tickets to the Milwaukee Boat Show. It's back as it is every year. It's a great event if you're into boating at all or all the other things happening, kayaking and all the outdoor sports of the summer. That is the place to be. So good luck to caller number 6. All right, Jeremy, Janine from UrbanMilwaukee.com. Where are we starting in this segment?
Let's start by turning our microphones on, and then let's jump into the city of Milwaukee paid in 2025 more than $10 million in police settlements, more than $12 million in settlements total. These aren't all, we'll call them screw-ups that happened in that year. Some of them went back as far as 2005.
Wow.
But the bill became due for various reasons in 2025.
Is this higher or lower than it typically is?
It is a lot higher, and it's there's two very large cases that are some of the largest ever. One is a $7 million, very complicated settlement with Danny Wilbur. In 2005, Wilbur was shackled during a trial that was later ruled that, okay, he shouldn't have been shackled. That was visible to the jury. And that was in 2005. He fought it until like 2018 while he was in custody. This was for a murder or a homicide. He was in custody. He finally gets out. So keep that 2005 date in your mind. Finally, in the early 2020s, the DA's office says, yeah, we're not going to retry this case. So Wilbur has acted like he's been exonerated. The Common Council members have been like, well, no, just you get a do-over on your trial, but the DA won't take it to trial. So I think he was in custody for 14 years, and there are standards on that of the city's liability. So they settled that case for $7 million.
So he gets $7 million.
Yeah. Yes, and his attorneys get some of it, and and as Alderman Robert Bauman would make clear that he was not exonerated by this. He's just like a lot of these people have retired that were part of this. Mark Chambers said repeatedly, "This is," and he said the full word, BS, because the city was left holding the bag just by the nature of who was around. Keyshawn Thomas, far more recently, he was an individual that died in police custody in 2022 at I think it's District 5 on Locust Street. There were criminal charges for some of the officers involved in this and convictions. One officer retired because of this. He got a $2.5 million settlement, in part because he had 3 children. He died at the age of 22. The city paid that settlement out in November with little discussion. Again, a huge settlement. So the $7 million, $2.5 million, really that's most of that $10 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Figure.
That one was a drug overdose, right? It's basically he had taken drugs and they didn't get him help in time.
Very quickly to paraphrase, he had told an officer he'd taken drugs. The officer failed to check in on him like they said they would. Then a second officer falsified records that he was checking the cells that are in the police station.
All right. Speaking of lawsuits, the city has settled one between the deputy city attorney and the inspector general.
So the inspector general is a creation of the council that is essentially an auditor within the council's office, not the normal auditor for the city, the independent comptroller. The inspector general released a report that then deputy city attorney Odalo Ohiku said disparaged him essentially was libel, saying that he was working for private clients while on the clock with the city, and he did not cooperate with the initial inspection. The Inspector General released its report in public. Lots of media outlets, including ours and the Journal-Sentinel and many others, reported on it. I'm sure it was discussed on your airwaves when it happened. There's now a $50,000 settlement that the city's Inspector General wasn't properly overseen and should not have released this report, at least in its entirety, in public. Ohiko was a lieutenant to Tierman Spencer, who is due in court tomorrow on an update on his criminal charges.
He's got a lot going on right now, right?
Tierman Spencer? Yes,
Yes.
he faces 2 different sets of felony charges.
All right, we talk a lot about data centers and their impact. Well, the name Marina Dmitrievich comes up in this story as well. She's got a strong take on this.
Yeah, she wants to be proactive and regulate data centers within the city. I think in Wisconsin, when we think of data centers, we think of the massive things that are happening in Port Washington and Mount Pleasant for Microsoft. She's looking more at kind of medium or small scale things that could be coming to the city. You might question how real that is. I have a friend that's working in Chicago on actually retrofitting office buildings that used to have, 1960s data centers to accommodate AI-driven facilities for private clients. So Marina says Alderman Dmitrievich says she likes AI, but she wants to have guardrails and a public input process, and she's very concerned about what happened in Port Washington.
What is she concerned about? Which part of it?
That people are allowed to give input on a zoning change for this. That you can't just come construct this facility without any public input whatsoever.
Okay, she's arguing in favor of public input.
Yes.
Yes, okay. I wasn't clear on that. All right, we'll take a break. Final segment with Jeremy Janine, UrbanMilwaukee.com. Kristin, Steve, point taken on a Thursday. Thanks for being here with us. You missed any or all of our program or our interviews, which were significant today, you can find it at WTMJ.com or just search Point Taken on your favorite podcast location. Quick break.
Hi, this is Michelle Voskel, CPA and team member at the Neal Group. Happy New Year. Hopefully you enjoyed the holidays and spent time relaxing. Now it's tax time. I know. It's not the most wonderful time of the year, wondering if you are getting a refund or money to the IRS or to the state, waiting for all the forms to come and wondering what is deductible. Control the situation instead of letting it control you. Let us help you understand all the new tax laws, how they affect you, and how to take advantage of them. Last year, we helped Janet and Norm go from owing $43,000 to getting a $500 refund. We can help you too. The first meeting is free. Call now, 414-325-2040, or visit nealgroup.net. You earned it. We help you keep it. That's 414-325-2040 or nealgroup.net.
Looking to build or remodel? Then check out the 2026 Metro Builders Association Home Building and Remodeling Show, presented by Nuns January 9th through 11th at State Fair Park. Learn about the latest home building and remodeling trends from over 150 MBA industry experts. And be sure to check out the all-new Builder Boulevard. If building or remodeling is on your 2026 to-do list, then don't miss the NBA Home Building and Remodeling Show this weekend at State Fair Park. For more information and tickets, visit NBAHomeshow.com.
Close your eyes and picture Europe by water, sunlit ports, ancient cities, and effortless elegance. With Viking Cruises and Fox World Travel, the Mediterranean becomes your front porch. No crowds, no casinos, just culture, cuisine, and curated experiences designed for curious travelers. From Italy to Greece, every detail is handled, so all you do is savor the journey. Ready to sail Europe the refined way? Call 866-GO-FOX-GO or visit foxworldtravel.com to book today.
WTMJ's John Mercure here. I love my dogs, Bella and Baxter, an important part of our family. They're kind of like kids sometimes, and like kids, they weren't always listening, but I've got it figured out now. Thanks to Matt and his teams at Sit Means Sit Dog Training, our dogs are better behaved. They don't bark as much. They just listen better. They're happy, confident, obedient. Our house is a better house. Sit Means Sit Dog Training turned it around for us. Let them do the same for you. You can start with a free consultation. The website is sitmeanssitwaukesha.com. Sitmeanssitwaukesha.com.
Shop the January New Year's sale on better quality furniture and mattresses at Ken Michaels Furniture.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Midday News with Greg Matzik and Jessica Ty.
A teen from Milwaukee facing multiple felony charges following a hit and run.
Bringing you the latest in news, sports, traffic, and weather.
Remember, a common cold in you might be something serious in somebody else. For a general cold, rest up, stay hydrated, and make sure you're getting the proper nutrients. That's going to do it. That's going to help you get better.
Every weekday from noon until 3 p.m. Only on WTMJ. WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee. From the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
All right, one more short segment with Jeremy and Janine before we send you on your way, before I get on my way to some sunshine in California. What else do you have for us?
So I have a big article, and it's something we're going to be talking about again, so it's perfect for a short segment. The primary way the state of Wisconsin, and this is true of almost every state, creates what is legally defined as affordable housing is through low-income housing tax credits. And that's where the federal government, administered by the states, gives developers equity to build buildings in exchange for them leasing specific units, at least 80% of the units in the building, at rates not to exceed 30% of a household's income.
Okay.
Which is a federal standard for what is affordable. And if you look up your mortgage, hopefully you're paying less than 30% of your income for your mortgage or your rent. So what's interesting about that is every single year there are more proposals for buildings to be developed than there are credits available to actually create the affordable housing. And that's become, every time there's a tax change in Washington, that creates ripple effects, because if there's not as much tax liability, there's not as many people interested in buying these credits, so it becomes more difficult, and that's part of why affordable housing has become more complicated. But in Milwaukee, we saw a real bumper crop this year. 1,100 apartments were proposed, not buildings, but 1,100 units. In the past years, it's only been a couple hundred. So there's a lot of developers getting off the sidelines saying, I have plans. They range from big things like Josh Jeffers proposing to convert the Clark building, which is just 2 blocks over on 6th in Wisconsin, the top floors of it into affordable apartments, to large developments on the northwest side by Northridge Mall. So, and things big and small between, scattered site developments in Harambe, where it'd be just a cluster of single-family homes or duplexes. And then a lot of developers, after the credit requirement expires in 15 or 30 years, then try to sell these units, if they're single-family homes, to the people living in them. So why I say we're going to be talking about it again is because in a couple weeks, we're going to learn what WIDA, the state agency, invites, what proposals it invites to apply for a full application, which is an indication that they're likely to get funded, if not this year, then in the next year.
Okay.
1,100 units. That's significant.
Yeah, and usually it's a couple thousand units across the state, but for that many to be in Milwaukee is a lot.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, we'll see if the state funds a lot of them. Or gives an indication that it will.
Well, helps the mayor's plan to get to 1 million residents at some point in the distant future. Because what are we at, 5 something? Did we go? Are we over or above 6?
We're below 6.
We're below 6. So I remember, I told the story once before. I remember, because my dad worked at the airport, I always drove past that population sign, and it was like 630 and 618, 612, and they kept ticking down.
There was a comical period where not all the signs matched, so depending on where you entered Milwaukee, the population was different.
How big of a difference was there?
It was just like one was from a prior year. So
no, I know, but like, would it be like a significant difference?
If you count 10,000 people as significant, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
10,000 people
is a big number.
A lot of people.
All right, look forward to your visit next week. One of the things that I always get is a lot of feedback, especially if I talk about the calling at all. I get a lot of email about it. Somebody suggested, this just is funny to me, that I do a social media post where I do a video in front of the calling and say, if you're angry about the fact that this is still sitting in front of this beautiful Calatrava, call whatever. Who would be the person you would call about that? Is there like an
Wait, should I send you? You have the photo where I photoshopped you into
that's lame.
it with me.
I'm doing a live video.
Jeremy Janine laughed out loud when I sent it to him.
I'm sure he did.
I see a live show opportunity this summer, and I'll bring my engagement photos.
From the calling?
Yes.
Well, it's right down the street, basically.
We can have convince me I'm wrong.
On a warm summer day.
All right.
Just interview people on the street. Say, how do you feel about this?
Work in progress. Jeremy and Janine, we'll see you next week. We'll see you
Tuesday.
Whenever. Tuesday.
Happiest place on earth.
All right.
Disneyland, here we come.
Here we go. News is next. 620 WTMJ.
Welcome to The Knowledge Brokers, a weekly feature covering the dynamics of the insurance market and how it affects Wisconsin businesses and residents. It's sponsored by the original Knowledge Broker, R&R Insurance. And joining us today, Jeff Salazinski, Executive Vice President of Insurance Operations. Jeff, the insurance industry dynamic as ever. You got broker mergers, broker lawsuits and plenty of change out there as well. So let me rapid fire some questions at you and get your thoughts.
Great, Vince. Let's do it again.
So I read a headline recently that 2025 was the year of the